Alright, hello, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I was absent last night if you've been tuning in for my data analysis on the coronavirus stats. I have been giving these updates for about the past 2 weeks. I'm a software developer, and so I just go over the numbers, and this is the little side project that I've picked up on for since the coronavirus is blowing up. So I keep a spreadsheet, and it just it updates daily with the numbers from Johns Hopkins University made public on their repository. And it's after a few days of the downtrend of the data going down a little bit on the confirmed cases and also the increase in deaths, it looks like things are bad again. They've picked up. So let's take a look at the data now, and I'll explain to you just why. I'll show you just how much this is actually picked up. So the number of confirmed cases, we actually have 1.4 million now, and it's an increase of 86,326. Now that's not the furthest, that's not the highest it's been. Like the biggest increase has been 98,135 4 days ago, but that was a day where there was an anomaly in the data, and where France actually had 25,000 confirmed cases for that one day. Normally they have about 5,000. So the next day they're at about 5,000 again. So this is kind of this 98,000 number didn't really follow the trend. For that reason, is that France, for whatever reason, had a jump there. And so, despite that, this is the highest day of confirmed cases increase. And you can see there the confirmed growth, although it's still consistently under 10% for like the last 10 days or so now, it's gradually getting up again. So, but as we get as we reach the limit with the number of tests, I don't expect actually this growth number to actually move up much more, even though this number might move up slightly. But I'd be very surprised if we reach the point where we're at 100,000 confirmed cases a day or more. I don't know, maybe the tests will ramp up and things will be, it'll be different to what my expectation is. But for the number of deaths, this is a record day, unfortunately. So we've had the previous highest day was about 5 days ago now. It's 6,040. Ever since then, it's been climbing down consistently and then back up slightly yesterday, but it wasn't really just like in the top three of or in the three highest daily increase numbers for the number of deaths. But all of a sudden today, it's surged now. So now, just today, we have 7,362 deaths. So now we're at 82,035 deaths in total. This is across the globe. I can take a look at globe minus China soon if you want, but there's probably no point in looking at China now, because pretty much all their confirmed cases that they've reported anyway have been recovered. Or the rest of them have recovered, and they've only just record a couple of deaths a day. So there's really the global minus China stat was more important to look at maybe about a month ago, when we were still trying to figure out just how rapidly it was spreading across the rest of the world. But now we don't really need to look at that stat anymore, so we can just check out global and individual countries as well. The deaths growth has gone up to almost 10% now. It's probably going to be at 10% by the end of the day. It's only at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I stopped tracking these at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So and the number of recovered, though, has gone up quite a lot, though. So I don't have perhaps I should get a difference in here between the days, so we don't but the only thing I can go by right now is just this recovered death rate here, which compares the number of recovered to the number of deaths. But because this recovered death rate hasn't really increased despite having a record high number of deaths, that means that the number of recovered has increased by a record high, or probably near record high anyway. So it's only gone up 0.1% to 21.2%, but it is rising. The WHO death rate has risen now to 5.4%. Pretty mind-blowing, considering a month ago the media, so WHO doesn't even quote this rate anymore. So they used to like quoting it when the number was really low at around 1 or 2%, but I tried looking on their website the other day and they don't even update it. So I don't know what's going on there, but this is the number they used to like to quote, whereas comparing number of deaths to confirmed cases, now that's steadily climbed up from the beginning of March at 3.3%, and now it's at 5.4%. So it's almost going up 0.1% every single day. The incubation death rate, though, is going steadily down. So that's starting to correct, and I'm not sure if that has any relevance to the severity of the situation right now. Possibly not, because it's still, it still actually just compares the number of deaths to confirmed cases, and you can see here in that it's steadily going down now, and it's going to follow like a downward trend unless it breaks out of it. But because the number of confirmed cases grew so rapidly 14 days ago now, that that's probably what you're seeing there, and that's probably why it's decreasing. But I mean, the number one, I think, death rate to follow is this recovered death rate. I have to reinforce that. So looking at this, and you can see in this death increases chart here how it really has overcorrected today compared to yesterday and Sunday. Sunday was really down, and I've had a discussion in some Reddit threads about, some people, it's a bit of a myth that Sunday is always down. It's not. The data hasn't always shown that. Last Sunday it was, but I mean, significantly every other Sunday apart from that, it hasn't significantly been down. So it's not like it's a Sunday and fatalities and the Grim Reaper just decides to take the day off. It doesn't work like that. So that was just a bit of a coincidence there that it was a Sunday, but this isn't a pattern. So anyway, but yesterday was also down. But today has shot up, as you can see. So the trajectory, the trend is like, this is I think it's on 10-day moving average, but it's moving way up now. And the death growth, this necessarily isn't going to be climbing above 10% again or much more, but I mean, it doesn't, again, it's like the confirmed cases I went over earlier, where even if that doesn't shoot up that much, it doesn't mean that it's the deaths, the daily increases isn't going to shoot up that much. So that's the global situation at the moment. I just want to take you to a few. So because I didn't do an update yesterday, I can go over some of the countries, because the US, for one thing, has a record high number of deaths today. There we go. It's updated now. So 1,000, almost 2,000, 1,939 deaths just today. A total of 12,722, and they've almost got about 400,000 confirmed cases. So their recovered death rate is still pretty low because they don't have a lot of recovered, and their deaths are climbing, consistently high compared to that. Their WHO death rate, which was consistently low, is where is this now? It was consistently at around 1 or 2%, is now finally at around 3%. And I say finally because it couldn't have stayed that with all the deaths they're having. It couldn't have stayed that low forever. So that's the US, and the UK is also not looking that great. I think they've had their highest number of deaths today as well. Okay, so it's updated now. So it's 786 number of deaths today, just today. And so, the UK is not in a good spot. One other place I want to look at is Sweden, because they controversially had herd immunity, what do you call it, like plan or strategy going on by the government, in that the government proactively didn't really, or retroactively actually advocated against isolation and social distancing. And so you've had a lot of photos being shared on social media about Sweden, just the Swedes just going out to bars as usual and stuff. So their deaths are going up rapidly. It may not look like much. I mean, it's the first time it's over 100. But if you look at the increases here, it's like 23% climb now. That's the highest it's been in about a week now. And their deaths for a relatively small country, their recovered death rate is huge, 74% right now. And even their WHO death rate is not that great, which is 7.1%. And even though that's a death rate that I don't really advocate to follow that much, it's still, following this WHO death rate for most countries is still pretty low. And that's on the higher end of when you just compare it to most other countries. So I think Sweden are going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think they're going to be like the next Italy or next Spain. And speaking of which, actually, Italy hasn't increased. They haven't increased over 1,000 a day. So now they've gone down to 604. So they're kind of flattening out a little bit. They haven't really they're decreasing a little bit if you look at it over like 2-week period. But over 4 or 5 days, it's like relatively flat. And I think Spain is a similar story. I want to look at the last country I want to look at is France, because they have significantly jumped as well. Germany is actually doing well, so I could probably look at them some other time. But I mean, considering they're a bigger country than France or Italy or the UK in population, I think their deaths are still in just the hundreds. Whereas France here, look at that, so they're over 10,000 now, 10,343, and they've had their biggest daily increase ever as well at 1,417, a total of 110,000 confirmed cases. So yeah, that's the situation with the data. There's quite a few Reddit pages I've got up, so let's go through them now. First, I actually created this thread earlier today at about 3 or 4 o'clock, because usually I just give a daily update either first thing in the morning or late at night, basically summarizing a lot of the data, like what I've been doing just right now in the last 10 minutes, but in more of a shorter summarized version. But I mean, because the death increases were so bad today, I just sort of gave a little bit of an update today, citing this chart here. And so as you can see, I mean, just like as we went over, it's currently at 7,300. It will probably finish around about 7,400 by the end of the day, possibly 7,500 if it gets, if it continues to get bad. But there's not that many updates that happen between now and midnight. But yeah, considering this was done in mid-afternoon and it was at 6,600 then, it's still significantly gone up since then. Almost about probably 700 or 800 since then. But normally in the last week or something, ever since from about 2 or 3 p.m., the data has been pretty stagnant, and it's only been going up like maybe about a dozen or a couple of dozen or something. So yeah, it's been a pretty bad day on the death front, and we can probably take a look at why. I think I have some threads up to actually discuss some of that. This is another interesting one. So it's on the CV News subreddit, a photo from a drone over Hart Island in NYC showing what appears to be a mass grave purportedly dug by inmates. Wow. Asked if suspected coronavirus patients had been there. A spokesperson, I'm not sure who the spokesperson would be. Like, is it just someone just talking over the fence or something? Or is it just like, journalists actually going up to the gates and talking to a guard? Anyway, a spokesperson said they didn't believe so, but wouldn't know for sure since none of the bodies have been diagnosed. Oh, how convenient. So this is kind of scary because we saw this a little bit in Wuhan, but it wasn't confirmed. There was always denials going on. Now it's the same kind of thing, but because this is in New York and the media is a little bit more free here, even though in my opinion it's still a lot of the mainstream media, it does a pretty bad job in America. But it's still a lot more free than China. So if they actually get onto this story and dig a little bit deeper, we should find out a little bit more what's going on, but that would be crazy. On CV News again, disinfecting your clothes is just as important as disinfecting your household, and washing your hands, the CDC has provided preventative measures to follow. So somebody says, yeah, well, I'm screwed because I'm too poor for a washing machine. Yeah, it's like, it's a pretty much a dilemma for everyone that's, and I was like living in a place where you had to go downstairs to go to the laundromat. But now, luckily, I have it in the apartment. But if I was still living in a place where I had to go outside for the washing machine every day, I mean, one thing I'd probably be spending a lot more money than usual. But yeah, the other thing is that I'd be putting myself at risk. So that's got to be a big problem. I'm not sure if laundromats are actually limiting the number of people that are going in. But every time I come in from shopping or something, I wear a mask when I'm shopping, a respirator mask. I usually just put in my clothes straight away in the washing machine, and then mop the floors in the entranceway. So that's the best you can do. But yeah, you shouldn't need the CDC to tell you that. If you have a washing machine, it's probably the best thing just to use it straight away if you're coming in from outside. On the Mask for All subreddit, the WHO is still clinging to the lie face masks cannot stop healthy people getting COVID-19. So they're being quite stubborn about this, and even though the CDC has seemed to have come around, depending on who you ask in the WHO, it's a different story every day. So They've got nothing to lose. I mean, I guess they're thinking about the world shortage of masks, but just like when asked up front, like if masks help, you would think that they would just say, yeah, they do, instead of, and just if they're worried about the mask shortage, then just say, look, we recommend that people don't because medical professionals need those, but they do work, because they do. They don't stop the virus, but they help. I don't know. I guess you know what I mean. They help it, right? On this coronavirus subreddit, so this is actually an article linked to in Gothamist. So I'm going to go to the article because actually it's probably more worthwhile if you see the actual link, the actual source, because this is such a serious claim, I think. Staggering surge of New Yorkers dying in their homes suggests city is undercounting coronavirus fatalities. So apparently there's people that have been passing away in their homes, and then when they've been collecting the bodies, they're not diagnosing them with coronavirus because they only test people in hospitals. This could be a big deal about, like, we could still be underreporting, we could still be underestimating this serious virus. Anyway, next thing on Twitter. So I just took something out because I realized it has nothing to do with coronavirus. So this other update from Michael Arrington, he's the former co-founder of TechCrunch. He tweeted, "Never again, stop listening to the politicians and journalists." Shows a tale of two tweets. Mark D. Levine, I think he's like something to do with like a politician in New York. I don't think he's the mayor, but I think he's, I don't know, he has a role in that. So tweeted on February 9th, 2020, "In powerful show of defiance of coronavirus scare, huge crowds gathering in New York City's Chinatown for ceremony ahead of annual Lunar New Year parade. Chance of Be Strong Wuhan. If you are staying away, you are missing out." So he's not saying to stay away at all, he's saying the opposite. Then on April 6th, "Soon we'll start temporary intimates. This likely will be done by using a New York City park for burials." Yes, you read that right. Trenches will be dug for 10 caskets in a line. It will be done in a dignified, orderly, and temporary manner, but it will be tough for New Yorkers to take. I think some of these people need to be sued, seriously. And another thing is, so the final thing that I saw, okay, so this is something, oh yeah, so I brought this up because of this. So this is just tweeted on this thread. "I'm so tired of those, if you don't come out of this pandemic with a newly acquired skill, then you're lazy agendas. Some people's close family died. Some people are battling mental illnesses triggered by social isolation. Some people lost their jobs and are trying to figure out where their next meal is coming from and how to keep the roof over their heads. It's insensitive and lacks compassion to assume that everyone is currently in a state to learn how to knit scarves." Yeah, I don't know why this needs to be said, but that's a good way of putting it. So yeah, and it comes from this, it was a reply to this thread, which has got over 95,000 retweets, so at least it's resonating with some people. But yeah, there has been a sentiment of some people, well, actually it's in one of the replies here, "Over 6 million people are unemployed. We should all be helping in any way we can. I think most people are doing more than they were pre-pandemic. Work and homeschooling, working overtime, volunteering. With so many in need, no one should be sitting around not doing anything." Now, this person's heart is in the right place, I think, but she doesn't know really, and that's what this tweet was in response to, I think, in that she doesn't know these everyone's situation. Some people can't do anything. Some people have got chronic fatigue. Some people have got like stress and trauma. Just lay off. Stop telling people to actually go above and beyond. You got to do what you can to actually just like get through this time. That's the main. Your main job is to stay off the streets. That's number one. All right, so thanks for this update. Sorry, I had a lot to get through, so I was just trying to rush it through, but yeah, hopefully you understood with my accent and all. But I'll be giving an update same time tomorrow. I probably won't be updating. I'll take one day off a week to update, to update, so maybe it's Sunday night or Monday night, but I'll see you again same time tomorrow. Okay, stay safe. See ya.